Kia ora, everyone. I'm Cesar, and this is the older brother. Welcome back to another episode of this podcast. Here, we are building a better life step by step, and we are sharing what we are learning along the way. And in the last video, we talked about why meditation can feel so powerful. And that led me with a question. What is actually happening in those moments? Because sometimes when you practice meditation, it doesn't feel like just relaxation. It feels deeper. Today, I want to explore something that helped me to understand this better, and is the vagus nerve. Not in a complicated way, but in a way that connects to real life. But before we start to talk about the vagus nerve, I would like to ask you to subscribe to this channel. It is something very important for me to keep expanding this message. The purpose here is to bring more awareness, more knowledge, and share all together the better practices to improve our lives. So it would be really nice if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and you can become part of that force that is expanding this message. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And let's start with the vagus nerve. Sometimes, or even like very often, most of us try to solve stress by thinking more. So we try to control everything from the mind. But what I'm starting to understand is this. A big part of how we feel comes from the state of your body. Not necessarily just from the brain, but from the state of our bodies. And the nervous system plays a huge role in that. So, talking about the vagus nerve, this is a nerve that is one of the main components of our nervous system, and it connects your brain with your body. We can think about the vagus nerve like a communication highway. So it sends signals back and forward between your brain and your heart, your lungs, your digestive system. So it is constantly active, even if you are not aware of it. And where is located? Where can we find the vagus nerve? Well, physically, the vagus nerve starts in the lower part of your brain, in an area called the brainstem. From there, it travels down through your neck, into your chest, and into your abdomen. And along the way, it connects with major organs. So it's not just in your head. It is a bridge between your brain and your body. And that's why it influences how you feel so deeply. So necessary, we need to talk about the nervous system to understand this better. And in our nervous system, there is a part that we usually call the autonomic nervous system. This system runs automatically and you don't control it consciously. And it has two main branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic is the one that we usually call the stress mode. So this is your fight or flight system. It activates when you feel pressure, when you feel danger, when you are overwhelmed, and your body prepares for action when you activate this system. So in that mode, in this stress mode, the heart rate increases, the breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense, and you can feel your stress mode. And believe me, I have experienced the activation of the sympathetic system when I was working in practicing law, when I was working as a chef, like many stressful moments that I experienced that mode. The other system is the parasympathetic. That's the other branch of your autonomic nervous system. So we usually call this one the calm mode. This is your rest and recovery system. And it activates when you feel safe, when you feel relaxed, when you slow down. So your body shifts into a slower heart rate, deeper breathing, your digestion improves, and your muscles relax. And this is where the vagus nerve becomes very important because the vagus nerve is one of the main ways that your body used to activate the parasympathetic system. So when the vagus nerve is active, your body moves into calm mode. And when it's not, you stay in a stress mode longer. So that's very important that you activate your vagus nerve because then you can experience the calm mode and you can balance your body. If you were stressed during the day in your office, if you were stressed at your job, if you have any problem, like it's very good to activate your vagus nerve so you can experience calm mode as well. And this is a moment where it's very important to highlight the interaction between the brain and the body because this part is key because the communication in between your brain and your body is not just one way. We need to know that our brains influence our bodies. And also, our bodies influence our brains. For example, if you're breathing or very fast and shallow, your brain interprets that as a stress. But if you are breathing slow and deep, your brain interprets that as safety. So when you change your body, you change your mind, and the vagus nerve is a part of that loop. I remember a few years ago, back in Colombia, in Bogota, I was studying in theater, and in one of the lessons, we understood that if we want to get into a character, we need to experience that character, and we need to even breathe as the character. So if our character were a person with a stress or that wants to express some anger, something like that, we were breathing fast and shallow to reach that state. But if we were playing a character that is more calm, that it was um, a diplomatic, a very calm person, we as an actors had to change our breathing pattern. So it's completely true that uh, that your brain influences your body, but also your body influence your brain and how you can change from one state to another. Highlighting that the vagus nerve is part of that loop. And at this moment, we can start to connect meditation and the nervous system. Because when you meditate, you are not just relaxing, you are changing your nervous system. When you slow your breathing, when you sit still, bring attention inward, you activate the vagus nerve. And this creates a shift. The body relaxes, some signals of safety, your brain reduce activity, and your thoughts slow down. So meditation works from the body to the mind, not only from the mind. And at this moment, we need to remember that we need our nervous system working well. So we need to influence or reach that state where we activate the vagus nerve, because we can stay in a stress mode for long periods. Otherwise, we're going to start to feel anxiety. We're going to be overthinking, feeling tension in the body. We're going to experience difficulty to relax. We, we are not in the state of solving problems. And yeah, definitely it's not worth it to be in a stress mode for long periods if we can control that, if we have the tools to control our stress mode and just balance our nervous system. Because, like at some point, and this part is important, many people think that this is just their personality. So if they experience that for a long time, they're just gonna say like, no, it's because I'm like that. It's my personality. I don't remember to be different than that. But here we go, because we are now realizing that it can be just a nervous system pattern. Probably we just have the stress mode on and we are just surviving with that. So, here, the good news is that the nervous system can be trained, and we don't need extreme methods. We just need simple practices. Things like slow breathing, meditation, consistent routines, movement, and over time, your system learns how to return to calm more easy. Here, and I'm super fan of meditation and I'm practicing meditation in a consistent way and I'm feeling the change. You guys know that I experienced before the stress mode. My fight or flight system was on for long periods and I suffered consequences. But thanks to meditation, I balance my nervous system and I'm feeling super good now. And yeah, as effective that I want to talk about that and share this information with you. But also talking with my brother, he's practicing slow breathing. And for him, that is working very well. So there is few tools that we can practice to balance our nervous system. It doesn't need to be meditation, but for me, from my personal experience, meditation, it's very powerful for that. And not just for that. And we're going to be talking about many other positive things related to meditation in different videos. But yeah, in in my practice of meditation, when I start to understand how the nervous system works, especially the autonomic nervous system, and how these two branches, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, needs to be balanced, and how the vagus nerve is part of this system and this way to achieve that balance mode. Meditation stopped being something abstract for me and it became something more practical, something more related to real life problems. And because at the end, when you understand how that function, it's easy for you to explain what are you experiencing during meditation. And yeah, I'm working on that. I'm learning more about that every day. And it's curious that we can see this from the scientific and modern science point of view, but also when you practice meditation, for sure, you are in contact with ancient wisdom as well, because many books that are related with the techniques of meditation, they bring some ancient wisdom as well. So, so something become very interesting for me here is because this idea of the vagus nerve as a part of the parasympathetic nervous system and how it helps you to enter to a calm mode is not a new idea. Ancient yogis and meditation traditions have been talking about this for long time. And The thing is, like, it seems like they talk about that, but just in a different way, just in a different language. They didn't use terms like vagus nerve or parasympathetic system, but they observe something very similar. They experience something very, very similar. For example, if you see the traditional yoga texts like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there is a strong focus on attention and stillness there. So, in that text, it describes how the mind becomes stable and when attention becomes steady. So, it's something like the mind becomes stable when attention becomes steady. That is basically what we're doing in meditation. Is our attention becomes steady, and then from that practice we are influencing our mind, which is becoming stable as well. And it sounds very similar to what we experience in meditation and the narrative of the modern science. And then we know that when we practice that activity of breathing slow, activating our vagus nerve, then we experience less noise, we experience more clarity, we feel more presence. And here, the breath is something very important. It's a very important idea in yoga and meditation. And in some texts, it's common to find a simple principle, and is when the breath is steady, the mind becomes steady. And today, we are understanding this in a different way. When your breathing slows down, you activate systems in your body that help you relax. And one of the key parts of that process is the vagus nerve. So, what yogis were discovering through experience, we are now starting to understand through science. They didn't talk about nerves, but they knew that breathe changes your state. They knew that stillness changes your mind and that awareness changes your life. So, in a way, they were already working with the nervous system, even if they didn't call it like that. And I think this is important to understand clearly because it helps us to stay grounded. We are free to believe something mystical is happening during our practices, but we can also just simply understand that the body and the mind are deeply connected. And practices like meditation and breathing are ways to work with that connection. And I want to highlight something here, and it's because I said that we are free to believe that something mystical is happening during our meditations. And it's something that personally I've been experiencing. Sometimes in the meditation state, I feel like more conscious, and I feel my brain activity is much less, and something came. And sometimes you can experience like deep feelings, you can have some visions, you probably have access to some messages, and you have the right to believe the things you are experiencing. That it's not just that you need to reject that because modern science is explaining that in a different way. I think your body and your senses are giving you that experience to get the same knowledge but in a different way. So it's very nice to have the vision of the modern science, but also have the vision of the ancient wisdom to bring that together within. I mean, like every single person in this world is completely different. And I believe every single meditation practice is different as well. We are, every one of us, a different universe. So we experience and we realize things in a different way. So it's good to process all those things in your own way as well. But if it's also the, with the companion of all this modern science information, is gonna give you more value, is what I think. Because at the end, for me, this made meditation feel more real, not something abstract, not something outside of me, but something I can understand and build over time. Every time I practice, I can build more knowledge, more experience. And well, if meditation has ever felt powerful to you, maybe it's not something external. Maybe it's your system finally finding balance. And that's something that you can build step by step. If you have experienced this, I'd be curious to know. So please let your comments tell me your story, your experience with the meditation. And also, I would like to know what is helping you to feel more calm. It's something I did the the talk with my brother, and we were like sharing some experiences, and he was saying, like, as I told you, the slow breathing was very useful for me, and for me, definitely meditations. But well, let me know in the comments, and remember that all the answers are within. And this is Cesar, the other brother, and see you in the next episode. Thank you.